Hello there. You guys hear me? Is anyone up? Hey, Maganda Bug, how are you doing? Can you hear me? I see we're the only two on here. I'm glad you do. You know, this is my first time doing a live. I just decided to try it. So, what I was going to talk about is bushcrafting. Where's your kitten tonight, Maganda? Well, I'm glad you can hear me since you're the only one here. So, what are you eating? What time is it there? It's 11:30. No, it's the 11:30 p.m. where I am. What time is it there? It is 11:30 p.m. on the East Coast. What time is it there where you are? Wow, so you guys are ahead of us. Yeah, I figured since this was the first time that I'm doing a live, I did it rather late since I am on the East Coast. So when are you going to go and do some bushcrafting? Seems like we're the only two here. I'm glad you gave me a thumbs up. I like the dishes that you prepare on YouTube. They are very, very appetizing. Oh, you're not in the house. Oh, oh, that's where the kitten is. That's where your kitten. Your kitten is in the at the employer. So let me ask you something, Maganda. Do you ever do any bushcrafting? Oh, the employer went to UK? Wow. So you're there at your grandmother's house, and so now it's probably about 12:40 noon. So is the sun shining, or what's the weather like there? And how did you like that big knife I had for 7 days? So, oh, it's gloomy weather. So you're there for 7 days. You have gloomy weather, and you're at your grandmother's house. So you should just be chilling out. So are you gonna cook your grandmother a some of those nice meals? This is kind of strange. We're the only one on this live. Again, this is the first time I've done it. Oh wow, really? They have their own maid. Okay. So you will be enjoying that 7 days. I know you're going to do a lot of cooking, right? Well, no, but you should enjoy eating the food. Yeah, you know what? I have the hardest time getting my watch hours. So that's what I'm starting to do. I mean, I love the YouTube and I love doing the bushcrafting. Oh, wow, you're bored there? Yeah, but I know I have to continue to do the watch hours because I want to share a lot of things with people. Hey, Arkansas Wildman, how are you doing? Thanks for dropping in. I really like your videos, Wildman. I think they are so cool. When you're sitting there, crossing your legs, I see the kitten come, your pets come along. Yeah, and it must be really, really nice to have that location to do that. I don't have that location here. I have to get in my car and drive 18 to 20 miles to do bushcrafting. But it's all good. It's fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. But I'm going to be making a what I want to do is make a shelter, and it's going to be a really nice shelter. It's going to be able to hold 4 people, and I want to make a fire, a decoded fire in the shelter. So this is going to be a great experiment. I think I'm going to call it Taj Mahal Shelter. Taj Mahal Shelter in the Bush or something like that. But I'm really looking forward to doing that. And I just find there's so many things that I want to do in the bush. Yeah, yeah, Survivor is really cool. So Maganda, let me ask you a question since this is my first time doing this. Those red arrows, what do they mean? because I really don't know. Yeah, but there are so many shelters that I want to build, but the thing is, my time is so limited. I wish I could get out in the bush every day and do a lot of overnighters, but I've only done three overnighters by myself and two overnighters with this other friend of mine and one overnighter with two other guys. And it's been a great experience. But oh, it's a YouTube sticker. Okay. Hey Bougie. Hello, how are you? I see you're up. I'm just trying to do a live for the first time. But I was just telling Arkansas and Maganda about the shelters that I want to build. Um, most of the shelters, yeah, thank you, Maganda. But most of the shelters that I've have built so far, they've been lean-to shelters, and those are shelters that have paracord and a tarp that leans at a 45-degree angle. And then I put another, thank you, Bougie, for being a mod. I appreciate it. Um, and then I put another tarp down, a mylar tarp, and that's the easy and the quickest shelter. But as I was saying before, there are other shelters that I want to build. So I'm going to be looking forward to doing that. The only thing about bushcrafting by yourself at night, you will, well, I know I don't get a lot of rest because when I get in the bush about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock and I set my shelter up, that takes me about an hour. And then I am basically processing wood, chopping wood, sawing wood, making tinder bundles, feather sticks, splitting wood. So it is a lot of work. And I think that's what a lot of people may have overlooked because the fun part for me is when I start to cook and building the fire. Those are the fun parts. Even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you remove some of the bark off a nice green switch and stick some marshmallows in there, that is like really, really fun because all you hear is the fire crackling and popping. But some of the things that I'm always aware of, I have this thing for wildlife, watching out for live. You know what? They don't. I was talking to someone today and I was watching some YouTube. It is really, really difficult to make a fire. You know, again, fire has five components. The first component is going to be the ignition, which is going to be a ferrocerium rod, um, what is it? Flint and steel, or you can use Vaseline and cotton. You have to have some type of ignition. And the next most important thing is having tinder. And my rule of thumb, if you have tinder that is fluffy, you will get a spark. And after the tinder, you have to have kindling. Now, kindling is going to be maybe like the size of a pen or something like that. It's not going to be real thick. Yes, dry. Oh, it's yeah, yeah. If it's really dry, yeah, you can build a fire there really easy. But sometimes, well, anyway, you have to have the tinder, the kindling, and then the fuel. And the fuel is like a wrist size of wood. And And then the fifth one is the oxygen, which is the air. And a lot of times when you're building that fire, you're going to need this tool called a bellow, which someone gave me one. But a lot of times I would just take my cap off and fan it, get that fire going. And once you get that fire going and you get some coals, you are basically good until you want to put that fire out or until you leave. Now, when I go out there and I stay overnight, I want to get enough wood so that when I leave the next morning or whenever I leave, I want to make sure there's wood left. Because from my experience, it seems like every 45 minutes to an hour, I am feeding the fire. And I think that is because the more coals that you get, the wood burns faster. So, and the thing about the fire that I like at night is that for me, it's comforting and I look at it as being protection because I don't think any wildlife is going to come up to a fire, but you just never know. I've heard things before about sometimes bears can be stubborn, but me, I never see any bears during hunting season. I only see them during non-hunting seasons. But I think the fire is the most important thing. And I've seen, where a lot of guys they will go out and they will build a fire, but they'll sleep in their tent, and they wake up the next morning, and it is so cold, so cold. So, yeah, solo overnight was really last solo overnight was fireless. So Arkansas Wyman, was it cold? What time of the year was it? Because I cannot imagine going to do a solo overnight without fire. So yeah, what was that temperature like? I'd like to know about that. But I've seen guys go out there uh, solo with no fire. But I think it's because again, it's a lot of work harvesting a lot of wood. I always make sure I take a good chopping tool, which is an hatchet. I like to have a knife anywhere from 7 to 10 inches, and you can use that for chopping also. But the reason I like having a knife or a cutting tool that is 7 to 10 inches because that's going to allow me to baton that split that wood much easier. Now, I have other knives, other tools that are 5 inches, and you can baton with that as well. You can baton a 7 or 8 inch diameter piece of wood, but you have to start out on the edges and until it's small enough that that 5 inch knife is going to split it. But yeah, I would really, oh, 59. Hey, Arkansas, you know what? Me and some guys went out. It's in my last video. And during the day, it was really, really warm. Um, but all of a sudden at night, it went down to 57. And we were cold as heck. And we had a fire going, and we had enough wood to keep it going all night. But in order to get warm, we would actually have to get out of our sleeping bags. Well, I was sleeping in a suspended bed. I like to make my beds when I'm in the bush. I would have to get up and go stand next to the fire. So, but my ideal is 3 feet, 3 feet and a half away from the fire. And I've been out when the temperature has been as low as 18 degrees, and people ask me, "Aren't you cold?" Well, what I do, I take 3 trash bags and I fill them up with leaves. And then I put my bedroll on top of that. And then I sleep in a military bivy bag. Now, this military, oh, wow. Same here, 90. Yeah, 90 in the, yeah. Yeah, it's strange how weather can be 90 degrees in the daytime and at night it just drops. but I sleep in a military bivy bag that has mylar on the inside. So no matter how cold it is, if I'm sleeping with that equipment and I'm 3 feet, 3 feet and a half away from the fire, I'm not cold at all. Now I step away from that fire, I can really, really tell it. But man, I think building a fire is one of the most beautiful things when you go bushcrafting. I mean, and even preparing it when you prepare all of that wood, and you can sit there at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and hear that fire, and that fire is just so beautiful. And you make you some um, hot tea, or even make you some tea from pine needles, roast you some marshmallows. Man, that is great. And another thing with bushcrafting, I always try to make something. If it is no more than a spear, if it's no more than a pot hanger, it can be a horse to sit on. I can also, the horse is basically two tripods with a log in between them. So you can sit on that. You can hang your food from that over the fire. I try to make these stars with 4 points. You can actually throw them, and you should be able to harvest a squirrel or rabbit or something like that. But I'm sure that would take a lot of practice to do that. But I've made two of them in the bush. I made this other spear with one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 sharp points. And the way that I can best describe it is that it was about maybe 4 inches in diameter. So I split it into 4 points and I sharpened it. Well, I made a point to start off with, and then I sawed through it and split through it. I sharpened it, and then I took two other pieces of wood. I carved off both ends and made them sharp, and I crisscrossed them. So I had, there was 4 points at the top and four around the edges. So one of these days when I get that, because it's not with me right now, I'm going to show that to you. But I think going into the bush, I always want to learn something that I did not know. Now, one thing that I'm going to try my best to become very proficient at is navigation, and not to depend on electronics. Now, when I go into the bush, I have this little GPS system. It'll tell me how far I am away from my vehicle. But the strange thing about that GPS system, it never brings me back the same way that I went into the bush. So I'm going to get me a compass. I have a compass, but I want to have two because, that saying that one is zero and two is one. So I'll set both of the compasses and use one. And if I think I'm off track, I'll look at the other one, and both should be on track. But I've used a compass before, and what my biggest problem that I found out is longitude. You have what is your longitude, which is your left and right or east and west, um, coming back to the same point. It'll bring, for example, if I'm coming back northeast, uh, hey, Oak Taker, how are you doing? Thanks for dropping in. Got any input? Hey, just drop it in the chat. Right now, it's talking about navigation and learning how to use a compass, being efficient and using that compass. Because I want to get so efficient that I can use it with a map as well. Because actually, from my understanding, when you go to do bushcrafting, you should really know where you're going. So a lot of people will plot out from where from their once they get to their vehicle, they know where they're going, so they will plot that out. Me, I just happily just walk into the bush and go to different locations. But I go to wildlife management areas, so I know them fairly well because I hunt there. But believe me, you can still get lost there. I once went into the bush, prepared all this nice wood, had this nice meal, nice fire, and I went to sleep, woke up. Hey, ghetto, how are you doing? I'm glad you could join. I'm glad you could join me, ghetto. I know you're out there on that West Coast and the big time difference. Here where I am, what is this, 1:53? But I'm a night owl anyway. But I was just talking about, my experiences in the bush. I had so much wood, and as I was saying to myself, I'm taking some of this wood home. So I have this 5,000 cubic inch rucksack that the military uses. I put about 50 pounds of wood in that rucksack. I went to go to my vehicle and I was tired and I end up getting totally lost. I'm saying, why get lost at a time like this? It I started using my GPS system, and well, I was trying to use a compass, and I kept saying, I know I'm not going in the right direction. So I started using my GPS system. It was taking me further and further away. No, the compass was taking me further and further away. So when I started using my GPS system, I found out that I was 998 yards away from my vehicle. And I had to do that trek with 50 or 60 pounds of wood on my back. I was never more than so tired. And to this day, I still have some of that wood. And I have some of that wood in my garage because I call that prepping. So if it ever gets to the point that I don't have any lights and it's cold and so forth, I would take my little fire pit, go out there with that wood. Hey, I'm going to be warm. And another thing I do for preparedness, I really don't sleep in tents because I like to be able to sit out and see around me. If I go into a tent, I'm not going to be able to see. So, but I did buy this little one man tent that I'm going to do an overnighter with my with some family members, and I'm actually going to sleep in a tent because I know they are more than likely they're going to sleep in a tent, and they're not going to want to sleep out in the open under a tarp or anything like that. But this is going to be my first time sleeping in a tent, and that tent is also served as a prepping item because I can go. Oh wow, your notification button was turned off. Oath taker. Wow. Yeah, guys. I am just really learning how to do this, so bear with me for mistakes and so forth. But I see we have three people, five thumbs up. And you guys know I need all the thumbs up I can get. I need the subscribers and everything. But hey, it's all fun. It's all good. But back to this tent situation. I'm going to take that tent, put it under my deck, throw a tarp to give me some privacy, sleep under that tent. And I'm glad you're listening, bro. Um, man, I'm so glad you're sharing this out because I really truly love bushcrafting. The thing is getting people to bushcraft with you. Um, and I know I'm sleeping around a lot, but hey, I'm going to be sleeping in a tent for the first time with some relatives. I'm going to video it. And my main objective with my relatives, uh, Yep, the tent with some waterproof. You know what? That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, put some waterproof spray on that tent. Yeah, because it's really not an expensive tent. I just wanted to get it. And when I saw it, I saw this guy on YouTube. He said he had that tent and he's only used it 3 times. But you know what I'm thinking? Whenever I buy something, I becomes like, you know what? Yeah, I have this 1 man tent. Then I'm gonna want a 2 man tent. Then I'm gonna want a 3 man tent. And and I hunt and I have this what do they call this blind stand? And me and a guy, we've slept in it before, but the blind stand, the hunting blind stand, does not have a floor to it. And I slept in a chair all night, and he slept in a sleeping bag. But that was on a hunting excursion. But it was fun. But yeah, there's a lot I can learn. But I think ghetto, that's a good idea. Yeah, hit it with some spray. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. But I'm really a tarp guy because I just feel if you're a bushcrafter, you should use a tarp. Boy, it's not such thing as you should. I just say, if you're a bushcrafter, use the tarp, make your bed. I like making my suspended beds. I've made hammocks, and so forth, and that's to sleep suspended in the summertime. Because even though there are bugs out there, I really don't want to sleep on the ground in the summertime. But in the wintertime, I'm sleeping on the ground. Silicone water guard. Okay, and you know what? I think I have some of that. Is the silicone water guard? Is it clear? I think I have some of that. Is it like it comes out like what is that caulking material? So yeah, I'm gonna definitely do that. Silicone water guard. Okay. Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. So see, I'm learning something already in this chat. Yeah. But yeah, guys, I don't know. You guys, I am just a bushcraft enthusiast and I love the prepping aspect of it because with bushcrafting, I have knife after knife after knife after knife. And what I try to do is bring a different knife each time. But when I go into the bush, it's 3 things I am going to have. I am going to have an axe or a hatchet, more than a hatchet, because a hatchet is smaller than an axe. I define axe as something that you use 2 hands with, whereas a hatchet, I use 1 hand, and a hatchet is a lot more portable. Okay, it is clear. Okay, you should use for shoes and stuff. Okay, cool. I do have that. Um, and a matter of fact, I have some that's brand new. So yeah, I'm definitely going. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that. But when I go into the bush, I'm going to have a hatchet, a good fixed blade knife, and a saw. Now that's the minimum. But usually I will also carry a 4-inch Scandinavian knife with me. That Scandinavian knife is going to be good for carving and so forth. Plus, it's an extra knife because, as the saying goes, one is zero and two is one. But I like to take a 7 to a 10-inch knife. That's good for batoning. And a saw, I always take two. There's a little wire saw that you have. You put it on your thumbs and you can put it around the tree and you can saw with that. I take that, but I also have a Fiskars 18-inch. It's called a D ring, and I use that saw because it's it helps you with cutting large diameter wood. I've cut up to like 14-inch wood with that. So that's why I like that saw. It's a D ring called a D ring saw. And then I also carry, it's called a, what is that saw called that I take with me? I really like it. Um, God, it's on the tip of my tongue. I don't have it with me. Um, but it's really good. I mean, it cuts on the drawback. That's a really good saw. So I like having two saws with me, especially when I'm by myself. And another thing, when I go into the bush and I know you take your knife and your 9 millimeter and your mess kit, hey, you know what? I really don't talk about firearms, and I was always kind of hesitant, but I take a 10 millimeter with me. A 10 millimeter, a Glock 29, and it has a 15 round magazine, so it's 15 in one. And then I have two 10 round magazines. And also, speaking of that, I'm really debating now, do I purchase the Glock 40? Yeah, yeah, Awesome Son has one. Yeah, yeah, I love that 10 millimeter. And I use 200 grain full metal, flat nose, full metal jackets. So no hollow points for me when I go out in the bush. But I'm really thinking about getting the Glock 40. And that the reason I'm doing that is because the Glock 40 has a 6.6 inches, 6.1 inch barrel. My Glock 29 has a 3.78 inch barrel. And the Glock 20 has a 4.1 inch barrel. So the longer the barrel, the greater the velocity is of the projectile. So the greater the velocity, the harder that bullet is going to hit your intended target. So, but the main dilemma is the money. Do I want to pay that amount of money for a Glock 40? And again, I have a Glock 29, so it would be awesome to have a Glock 40. Hey, you know, again, one is zero, two is one. So I'll always have a backup. But yeah, that's the thing, having a firearm and knowing how to use it. You know, and nowadays we all know it's expensive to go to the range and practice. And a lot of people dry fire, but you know what? That's just something I don't do. I I even have the dummy rounds, but I don't use them. I don't know. I have this thing about, am I just going to wear out the parts and so forth? I very seriously doubt it. But I really like going to the range. Uh, but yeah, so that's something I'm really heavily thinking about, that Glock 40. And putting, I think it's called an MOS on it with a red dot, nice flashlight. And I think the benefits of having that flashlight, you're going to see your target very well at night. And I say that because in my area, we are beginning to have a problem with hogs, feral hogs. And I've seen instances where feral hogs have actually attacked people. So, you know, here again, that's why I build a fire. Hope that never happens, but you just never know. But yeah, bushcrafting, prepping, and I also tell people that I really think everyone is a prepper in some form or fashion. Prepping to me is preparing for unknown or unwanted incidents. I tell people, well, if you have a spare tire in your vehicle, you're a prepper because you're prepared if you have a flat tire that you can change that tire. If you have some money in the bank, you're a prepper because you have some extra cash. Well, doesn't matter how much, but at least you have extra cash. You have a life insurance policy, you're a prepper. Yeah, we have been here and beat, yep, mountain lions. Really, mountain lions. Now, that's something I don't want to be faced with. But I heard, though, and let me know what's your opinion on this, wild man, that mountain lions like to approach from the back and attack the night portion. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that. because my main thing is like bears and mountain lion, bears and mountain lion. Really, bears? They do that? They attack from the back? I know. Really, I didn't know that. One thing I do know, bears are very quiet. If you touch the paw of a bear, you're going to be surprised how soft that paw is. Wow, but I did not know that. I am glad to know that. Panthers will stalk you? Really? Wow. Now, woman, is that in any particular area or is that akin to certain areas? Because I'm in the Virginia area. I'm more or less in the northern Virginia, maybe 55 miles southeast of the District of Columbia. You won't wear out the gun. Okay. It'll take that. Okay. I'll oath taker. I'm glad to know that. Yeah. I don't know why I have that fear of if I drive fire, am I going to make it malfunction or something? Yeah. So thousands of rounds. That's good to know. And I also heard that they have a dummy round with a laser that you can put in there and practice. Because I'm gonna tell you guys, in all honesty, when I was going to the range like on a weekly basis and ammunition was not that expensive, I was a pretty good shooter. And but now since I go sparingly, to me, okay, the mantis system, okay, the mantis system, okay. Yeah, so when I go sparingly, I tell people I'm actually going for an eye exam. And it takes me a good amount of rounds to start getting back on target. Yeah, that would be a lot cheaper. Yeah, I agree. Because I'm telling you, man, the cost of this ammunition, and then you got to pay for the lane. And I mean, I remember I used to go to the range and I would like take like 600 rounds. No big deal. That's when that 9mm was $12 a box and that AK was like $3 and $4 a box. Yeah, I take like 100 round maximum. And then when I leave, it's like, okay, now I have to buy 3 boxes because I have to replace the 2 boxes and add to my inventory. So it is some serious budgeting for me, serious budgeting. I mean, what's amazing is that again, I see all this ammunition with these old dates, and sometimes I'll go to a gun show and I'll go to some of the vendors and I'll ask them, hey, you got any more of that 12.99 ammo? And they just look at me and laugh. They say, well, we have the 12.99, but some numbers have escalated. So, but it's all good. But yeah, I'm telling you, man, it is costly. Everything is costly, but that's part of prepping. It's gonna cost you some money. But and guys, something else I do. I've got to get better at rotating my preps. Um, I don't know. Many of you may know that I'm a vegetarian, so I stack this. Oh yeah, 10mm is high. You are right. I mean, sometimes I don't. I have this tendency like I don't even want to look at the price. But it's like you got to have it. And for practice, I practice with at least 180 grain, 50 round per box. So you're right. That ammunition is high. But if you have to have it, you have to have it. But that's part of prepping. You got to have, your pew pews and your food, your water, finances, insurances, car insurance, life insurance. It goes on and on and on. And then, there's also the part about survival. And to me, survival is just getting to a safe place. Get to a friend's house, a gas station, a hotel. If you're in the survival mode, you're not trying to hike or trek for 2 days. If I travel quite a bit, And if I'm driving at night and I have a flat tire, that survival is going to start off by calling the roadside service to come and change that tire. I can change it, but I'd rather stay in my vehicle. And that's part of prepping, having that tire so when they come, they can put that emergency tire on and I can get to a safe place, get another tire, do what I have to do to continue my trip. Um, I ride bicycles, not as much, but when I ride a bicycle, I would carry three spare tubes and two extra tires, the tires that fold up. Because if I'm going out on a long ride and I have a flat tire, I'm going to change that tire. I'm not going to worry about patching the tube. I'm going to put another brand new tube, a brand new tire on that bike, and I'm going to keep going. Dispose of the old tube, find out if the other tire is still in good shape. But all of that is part of being, that's survival. Um, Carrying the bike tools, you know, prepping and survival. And and one thing I'm looking forward to doing is some survival techniques when it's dark, to show the different type of lights I have, how you can use these signal lights. So that's something I want to do. And then I found something else that's very interesting: learning Morse code, or is it Morse code? Yeah, Morse code or Morse code, one of the two. I bought this whistle, and on the back it had Morse code. No roadside service way out here, not even a gas station for 25 miles. Now, Arkansas, I've driven through Arkansas many times. What's that, Highway 40 that goes into 35? And I guess since I was on the main highway, yeah, wow, well, I don't want to run into trouble there. But I got to tell you this, Arkansas. The last time I traveled through Arkansas, I don't remember. I'm going to say it was maybe 200 miles before I was going to go across to Texas. I stopped at this cafe or this restaurant. You talking about some of the most delicious food. I had the hash browns with scrambled eggs, pancake, and some very good coffee. And it was only $8.71, and that was with the tip. And I did not even eat it all. I don't think you can't get that anywhere. And the waitresses, oh man, they were very good, very good. But out of that $8.71, I just couldn't believe it. Whereas I think that meal would have cost me easily $10 elsewhere. But yeah, but anyway, getting back to this survival and so forth, um, I'm gonna do this night video to show these lights that I have and how you get out of the bush at night in an emergency. Um, when you when you have a fire, you also want to have a lot of greenery next to that fire, not very close to it, but you want to have the greenery, or they call it the boughs from the tree. So if it comes to a point that the search and rescue aircraft comes across, you just put that greenery on that fire, and oh, you're in the remote western area of Arkansas. Okay, but you put that greenery there, and smoke's gonna go up. But you know what? Arkansas is a place that one of these days, Arkansas and Tennessee is going to be an area that I really want to go and do some bushcrafting. I love those mountains in Tennessee, the Appalachian Trail. Wow, I mean, they are just beautiful. I've traveled, what's that, Highway 81 that goes right into Tennessee. I'll take that 81 all the way through, what's that, Knoxville, Nashville, through Memphis, go through Arkansas. Hey, Rusty Bent, how are you doing? Thanks for dropping in. But yeah, I'll take that trek. I haven't done it in a while, but it's a fun trip, long trip. But yeah, you think about that. Even when you're driving that far, you've prepped and you are prepared to. do some survival techniques. Hey, but in a case like said, Arkansas, if you don't have any way of calling no cell or anything like that, I guess that's when the flares come in and maybe someone would stop and assist you or something like that. But yeah, it's so much with bushcrafting, prepping, and survival skills that it's a journey. You just learn and learn and learn and learn. And it's just so much to learn that, I mean, it takes up a lot of my time because I really didn't start doing bushcrafting till like, I want to say January the 29th of 2022. And I am overwhelmed with the amount of items that I have purchased for the bush and, the prepping, the food that I bought, the water that I stored, um, getting, really serious about knowing your neighbors, and some neighbors are amenable to that and some people are not. So learning how to read people, who can you really trust and depend on if a scenario arises that you need their help. So it's it is really really a lot to bushcrafting, prepping, and survival. I mean, it's so much that I even went online tonight and to find that there's going to be this bushcraft. I want to say a bushcraft expo in Ashland, Virginia, on November the 16th. Now, hunting season in Virginia starts, I believe, November the 4th, and I hunt a lot. But you can bet on November the 16th, I'm going to that bushcraft expo. They're going to have vendors, and you can do a lot of selling, trading, and things like that. But there's always specific items that I'm looking for. Um, one item I was looking for, and I found it, was a dry bag. And what I'm going to do with that dry bag, I'm going to put all of my food in the dry bag, and then I'm going to take my food maybe 50 yards away from my camp because that's something I have not done in the past. I've always kept my food at my camp. So I just keep, and also heard you shouldn't eat at your camp. I'm saying that's going to be pretty difficult. I have to fire here. Am I going to pick up my food and go away 50? Okay, bear and deer archery season is open here, but too hot? Really? Wow, you know what? See, well, archery season starts in September in Virginia, but I don't do archery, and I'm afraid to do it because I know if I pick up a compound bow or a crossbow a few times, I'm going to be all into it. And I just think the broadheads, I don't know now what they are now, but when I was looking at them, they were like $50 for three broadheads. And you have the fixed blades and then another type of broadhead that opens. And the thing about archery is that it's, to me, it's somewhat different. I think it takes some different type of skills because you've got to get that wildlife closer to you. As where if you're hunting with a rifle, I mean, you're good for several hundred yards, depending on what type of rifle you use. Um, I hunt basically with a 30-06 and a shotgun, muzzle loader. Um, but yeah, if you're doing archery, you've got to get that deer, bear, whatever, closer to you. And I think, this is when the scent comes in and how still are you in the stand? That's if you're hunting from a stand. And I know if I were to get into archery, I know that's almost going to be $1,000 just starting. By time you buy the bow, the arrows, the people that make I think they're called fletchings, the broadheads, the arrows are aluminum. So I have a friend that he makes his, and he's very, very good at archery. But yeah, that's why I haven't tried it. And it's like until I feel my deer tag, I'm not going to do it. I have never. I've been hunting since 2008, and I have never once filled my tag. And for the last couple of years, I just haven't been successful at getting anything. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know where the deer are going, but I think this is 2022. I think the last deer I got was in 2018. And then, granted, I haven't been out, going out once or maybe 3 times every 2 weeks. You lessen your chances. Whereas before, I was going out a lot, almost every day or every other day. So increased my chances. I was a little bit more successful. But yeah, guys, I love the hunting. I also fish. Now, the strange thing is that I'm a vegetarian, so I give away the venison, I give away the fish, and I give it away to people who really need it. A lot of elderly people that have, medical issues and so forth. There's nothing more pleasing than to give them that venison or that fish and see that big smile on their face. You know, a lot of my friends will say, "Hey, I'll take that from you, give it to me." But I always reply, "But you have a job. So you can go to the supermarket and you can pick whatever you want off the shelf." But a lot of people that are not able to drive, sometimes, I'll give it to Hunters for the Hungry. But when it comes to the fish, I like it to be a good amount of fish, and I'll take that fish out of my ice chest. And this one particular lady just dump all that fish into her freezer, and it's almost like uh, how they stock a lake. It's just like stocking her refrigerator. But yeah, I love doing that, and and most of the time when I fish, oh, thank you so much, Oats Taker and Wildman. Yeah, I really love it. And sometimes I'll go, I start like 8 o'clock at night, and I'll fish to 9 o'clock in the morning. I love the night fishing, and I would take the fish and clean them and fillet them and put them in that ice chest and take it to them. Man, they are the most happiest people. And when I take that deer, I would even I'll pay for the processing of the deer. Tell them, hey, butcher it any kind of way, make some hamburger meat, put some jalapeno in there, make some patties or whatever, and just give it to them. And you know, this one area, I mean, every year they're waiting, but the thing is, like, when I don't get any deer, it's like kind of disappointing because when I see them, it's like, hey, do you have any luck? And you gotta say, oh, you know what? I haven't gotten anything this year, but as soon as I do, I know where you are. And sometimes I'll just give it to Hunters for the Hungry. That's an organization that, yeah, and the good thing about them, you don't even have to field dress the deer. You can just take it to them. But I would never do that. I field dress them anyway. I like doing that, especially when it's cold and you field dress that deer, and those deer they're still warm. It's like, oh man, But yeah, I've done that. I like field, and I'm not as good as I want to be when it comes to field dressing, and I'm really not good at butchering. I have a friend, he does that, but I'm just not good at that. The fun part is just doing the hunting and so forth. That's the part I like. Everything else, I mean, cleaning the fish, that's really easy. But field dressing the deer, I'll do it because I have to. But when it comes to trying to do the back straps and I'm not good at that. I really need to practice on that. But if someone else is doing it for me, that's great. I can just keep giving it away to elderly people. But yeah, guys, it's about an hour that I've been on here. And again, like I said, this is my first time doing a live. I've enjoyed it. I'm going to be doing more because I learn so much from people in the chat, even when I'm watching other videos. Like I said, it's a journey. It's never ending. There's no destination. So, guys, hit the thumbs up, hit that like button, and I'm going to be seeing you guys on the next video. And what it is 2:27 here. There's no way I'm going to go to bed without looking at another YouTube video. I have so many to watch. Um, I told Sassy Prepper today, I said, darn it, I missed your live, but I'm catching it on the replay. I've been so busy, And she just said, that was okay, but hey, but yeah, I mean, you guys are great. I'm gonna tell you, uh, uh, Bougie, I just love her. Ghetto, man, you are like to say, you are great, man. I watched the live with my five family. Man, you brought up some valid points. I think everybody's good. I love watching Just Josh, love Carbon Q, Tactical Tangerine, Alaskan Prepper, of course, Arkansas. Man, I love those sermons that you have in the wood. Hey, if I don't make the church, I know I can catch Arkansas in the woods. I can get, some type of religious in me there. But Stardust 2. Um, what's my friend name? Triple Threat, Fireman Defense. Man, Devil Dog. I could go on and on and on and on and on. But yeah, you guys are great. So it's been a little bit over an hour. So I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to see you on the next live stream. And you guys take care. And again, hit the like button, share, subscribe, and hey, leave the comments in the chat. All right, you guys, you have a good morning since it's 2:30 where I am. And I will see you all on the next video. All right, bye.